I wanted to share this horrible experience our clients had with Perry Homes. Now, Perry Homes is known to be the very best, and tradition is excellence or something. And they actually bought this home, but there was a lot of problems with it that could help you if you're shopping for a new home. Now, I may not be the realtor for you, but I hope this video helps you in all of the details that I share about what you need to look for to not have a horrible experience with building your home either from the dirt or if you're buying one pre-existingly, to see what you need to look out for, because these mistakes are not going to be guaranteed all the time after you move in and close on the home. So let's go right in. Here inside this Perry home, number one, they stained the door the wrong color. It's supposed to be ebony. And one thing that you'll see consistently through this house is you'll see that this paint is scraped. What they do is when the paint is already scraped, that means they're repairing it. So we're gonna see a lot of examples of what you should look for when the texture is sprayed wrong. So when people texture houses, I've seen them texture from angles, which gives it a spotty look. So you gotta watch out for that. This means up there, and if you look at those angles, that is unacceptable how the sheetrock meets, and those joints are not supposed to be there. And look at the separation between this. This is not supposed to look like that. And if you look down here, it actually, this little piece here looks a lot better. So once I remove my hand, you can see, but even this gloppy kind of collection is not supposed to be there. And these windows here, you want it to have a little bit of a give. And when it's that tight in the frame, if the house settles or shifts, that's where you may run into some of the issues. So you don't want it to meet exactly. You want it to have, there you go. You want it to have some wiggle room. So this way, when the house does settle, because here in South Texas, and I gotta get that fixed too, you do have some shifting and settling in the foundation. So you wanna make sure that you have some in the window. So now we're gonna go into the spare bedroom and show you some of the mistakes here. One thing is the air filter. Just make sure when you buy the home, make sure the air filter is clean. Right now that one is dirty, unacceptable. You have to get a new one before you move in, because why spend your money when you can just spend the builder's money? So then here on the back, so this means that they're scraping it. So when you put blue tape, you don't want to put it directly on the mistake. You want to put it next to it. So like this part of the texture just looks kind of gloppy and just sloppy. So you want to put it next to it to kind of point at where the mistake is. Here we have a scratch here, and we have some overspray. Even though it's super tiny and it's like you can barely see that, but you are buying a new house. You want to make sure that it's like buying a new car. Would you buy a new car when it scratches on it? Like, of course not. You want to make sure that everything is settled. So throughout this house, we have seen these joints here where it's separated, but you don't want that. You don't want them to put caulking or silicone to cover it up, because it's sloppy and it should be texturized so it'll be a smooth transition to the other side of the wall. So the other thing is, if you look up there and we'll zoom in, and you see it's already starting to crack. They haven't moved in. They haven't even bought the house yet, and you're already starting to see those cracks just because of, yes, it's natural settling when the foundation and the house is getting situated because it's on new dirt, but you still want that fixed. And also you have a 2-year warranty with most builders. So you want to make sure that you tell them to not only fix it before you move in, but then you have a 10 or 11th month inspection to have them refix it. So bathroom, there's going to be a ton of detail. You especially want to make sure in eye level, everything is perfect. So I want you to look at that texture in the bathroom and tell me if you see any problems with that texture. And I'll save you some time and tell you, yes, there is a problem. You see that the spray is not even. So that's how detailed you should be looking at this. This gloppy paint here, unacceptable. And They already started to fix. So when this is dark, that means they sanded it and they're already starting to fix that. But this silicone, we see it's separated. That is unacceptable. The door. So don't forget to look down there. Way too much of a gap. Look at that. I have a Texas-sized boot, and it can fit almost all the way into that door frame in that door in the closet. That is way too big. Standard is about 1.5 inches, and this is about 2 inches, which I'm not a home inspector. Yes, I get it, but I've seen hundreds of home inspections, both new and pre-owned homes. And yeah, I'm kind of playing inspector and I'm playing all this, but it's obvious. It's not like you obviously can see it. And I just looked up what's standard building code for the door, and it's 1.5 inches, not 2 inches. With these, you want to make sure that this is stained. This dark ebony is pretty common, but you want to make sure that it's stained and secured to this. All right. So more texture items, and this is what a repair looks like. So they already started to do the repair, even though there was nothing wrong with it. But look, this texture of how uneven it is, it's gonna carry throughout the house. So actually, I'm gonna tell them, this looks good because the texture looks nice and even, but this doesn't. So they need to fix this wall as well. And then you have these little dots here. And it's super tedious. Like, this is obviously not the most exciting YouTube video, but it is very important to go through this house, in every house, of what you find. So this part, they're still missing the chandelier here in the entrance. But now for the sexiest part of the house and some of the most damaged and uneven. So, okay, so now we're in the kitchen, and if you notice, this backsplash, you see how this grout is uneven and then it goes really thin. This is the centerpiece of the kitchen, and you should not accept where you have this uneven grout here. You have the exposed staples, which, I mean, you can have some putty and cover that up. I mean, at least make it look a little nicer instead of a stapled piece of wood back there. So this beautiful stove range was uneven. And they evened it out finally, but then they put this little 1/4 round piece of wood here, this little frame to hold it, because it does need a certain cut to be able to fit in there. More texture items. I'm not gonna go through this because I already showed you the texture items. But when you have this, make sure you go inside the closet, go inside the pantries and look up, because that's really hard to spray. And a lot of times they miss that and the texture is uneven. And right now, you're probably thinking, oh, it's just, you know, storage and everything else. But when you go resell the house and you have maniacs like me as a realtor, I will go in the pantry, I will go in the closets to see how the texture's done. You want to see the workmanship of the house, because the workmanship, oh look, we got a splint here. Look at this, broken piece of wood. You don't want that, definitely don't want that. So you want to make sure that you get that. So the other thing is, right here, this beautiful quartz countertop is damaged right here. And that damage, I mean, it can be buffed out, it can be filled, but it has to be professionally done, because you don't want that to linger around the house. So make sure that they take this off. This is the double pane window. Also doesn't open, but you don't want that there, because it, you know, it just looks terrible. And it doesn't need to be there. Look around your outlets. Make sure that there's no paint on this. This is actually one of the only good outlets. Just kidding. There are maybe like 2. Make sure you have your cables. If you have the mountain connections, make sure that's there. And then also, this gas wasn't hooked up, and they were supposed to close yesterday, but I saw the guy hook it up. And so that's good. Holes here. And I like to not only put the arrows, but also to point at it, because a lot of times, this is a huge, huge hack, is builders or the subcontractors, they'll just rip off the blue tape, and it's like, where's the accountability? Where is, where it is actually fixed? So make sure you document where this blue tape is, because it's very easy for somebody to just rip it off or say, hey, I don't see anything, but I do see something. Like right here, this gloppy texture that if you really look in there, right here is where the gloppy texture is, which looks different than this texture, which is just like 2 inches above it. But this looks good, this looks gloppy, unacceptable. So, you know, let's be a little positive. So if you look at this window, it is a nice window where here in South Texas, we don't open windows. It's not a thing. So, so yeah, you want windows that are straight up. So before we go outside, we're going to look into the master. So watch your corners, make sure the corners are nice and painted and are really, really sharp. Door frames, I know this is natural wood, so there is some of this, but they can sand this down and add some paint and putty to it. And then on the back of the door frames, be careful here because this is where your door can get damaged. Right there, you should not see that in a door because as it opens and closes, make sure they sand it or fix it. And here's another little damage there. So besides the texture items throughout this, I'm not gonna go over it because we already did. Also, when you have things that you can't blue tape, like, because obviously I'm, you know, not graced with a lot of height here. So I have to label it here and put ceiling here. And now they know that it's above the ceiling. They forgot to paint it completely. So we want to make sure that gets done. And same thing here. Look at this door frame of that. It's already separating. And that's not good. And then here, grout lines are super important. You see, look, they siliconed it, but they didn't clean it before they siliconed it. So it looks very, very sloppy. Here, these corners are very common to have this. I get it, you know, they're working on the house, it's construction, I get it, but you can't accept a final product of having it look like that for the homeowner. That's very important. So this, I don't know if they covered up this window or this mirror, but you see how this texture items, you could see the line. You should not be able to see the line. And something like this, you don't want in the primary bedroom. You want to make sure that the primary bedroom windows are frosted. I love the natural light. Beautiful tub, but you have problems in this grout line. It looks sloppy. Actually, this grout line is different color than this one, or it's dirty, and then different than this one, and then also different from this one. These corners, you got to make sure that you make sure that they're either siliconed or covered up. In the closet, more texture items. You got to make sure these are secured. So in the shower, yes, go inside your shower. Go inside, touch and feel all of these grout lines. Make sure they're even. See, like this little hole here, that should not be, because you will still get some settling. There's a bow here. I'm actually gonna share the blue tape as I'm doing this video to show that this is uneven here. It's got that there. And in the closet, you wanna make sure not only do you walk in the closet, but you wanna make sure that you look up and back and also behind door frames. So this is another corner that is hard to get, but you wanna make sure they always fix that. So this is obviously an outstanding item they have to do. But just don't overlook these mistakes. This door frame has this nick in it that can be puttied, sanded down, and painted. You don't want to overlook this because a lot of these cosmetic items are not always covered by the builder warranty. Actually, I've said that many times in other builders. Perry's saying that they are, but I know other builders for sure, they're like, oh yeah, we don't cover texture and paint items after you close and move in, which we do not want that to happen. So now we're gonna go outside and I wanna show you a big problem they had with this house with the brick. So let's go outside now. First, this was a great lot our clients picked, which obviously is very beautiful. Greenbelt in the back. I love this neighborhood. But look at this brick. So this is not a natural part of the brick where you have that big of a hole. And then you see these little cracks. If you zoom in, this is not supposed to be there. Now, if it's a very slight break and it doesn't go all the way through, I mean, it's obviously a veneer, so it's not a structural part of this house because there's walls and framing that's behind this brick. So this is, you know, they say it's cosmetic, but it's protecting your house. Who wants broken brick in their house? So we blue taped it. We blue taped every single crack, and also this excess mortar that's here. You don't want that. It's just super bad. So like this one is a good example of showing the crack from the top all the way to the bottom. And then same thing here, another crack here, another crack up there. And then also let's look at this. So this is a post for the railing, but this crack goes all the way down, even though it's not touching. And technically it could be supported because this other post is here. But I mean, you don't want that. Like you don't want to add this broken post as part of your railing. I mean, if they're accepting this now, you know, what's going to happen later? Same thing with this. I know it's natural wood, but I mean, you don't want to accept that. So the other thing that you have to watch out for outside of the house, and it's just like, it's irking my OCD that I see so many cracked bricks, which is why you see we have so much blue tape even outside the house. Do not be afraid to blue tape outside of the house, for sure. All these items. Also dead grass. When you see dead grass, call it out and say, hey, this grass is already dead and they should replace the pallets. So another thing is, from what inspectors tell me, this is called an expansion joint. So this expansion joint allows the house to settle as the foundation settles. So this is also the weep holes here. Weep holes, see this hole? This is supposed to be here, and it's actually supposed to be cleared. It's not supposed to have anything in there. This is in case moisture gets in between the walls, it will come out of the weep holes. But to me, this is way too big of a gap. I'm not an inspector, but if I were to resell this house, and I've resold many houses, somebody would call and say, hey, you better get a structural engineer or the builder out here to warranty this because this is not normal. At least it doesn't look normal to me, and it probably doesn't look normal to you if you were buying this house on the resale. So you want to make sure that the underlayment here doesn't have any cracks or holes because you want to make sure that they're all puttied or siliconed. And see, we labeled it here, big gap. Look at that. Just in case they didn't see this massive gap here. So as we go around the house, other thing is around the fence, you want to make sure that there's no nails sticking out. You know, God forbid a kid is running by, grabbing his ball and gets, you know, stuck in the head with a nail. So we already went to this fence and the fence looks good, but I have seen exposed nails here. You want to make sure the grading of it. So if you look that way and you look at the grass, you can't really see it on, wait, right there. So if you can't really see it, but the land goes this way, you want it to make sure there's some kind of elevation going away from the foundation. And they have here gutters over here to make sure that the water goes away from the foundation. So if you have an irrigation system and you can water your foundation, that is also preferred. It's a really good thing, but either way, you still want to have evenly distributed water going away from the house, especially with these angles in the front. You still don't want water to pool like you see evidence of right here. I mean, it'll dry. It's South Texas. We have sun all the time, but it still could be an issue for that.